Welcome back to the Sean Show, episode 40. Let's go. Moving on nice and strong. Wildcard weekend has finished. It's been a whole week. And we're looking at the NFL Divisional round. Let's go. These guys are one step closer to the playoffs, one step closer to the Super Bowl. My bad. Exciting times. We've got some really cool matchups ahead of us tomorrow and Sunday/Monday. Let's get into this really quickly. By the way, this is the Sean Show. It's the greatest show. Let's get to the agenda real quick. Alright, so today we've got some divisional round info. I've made some pretty nice graphics. Gotta say they look good. Also, we're going to go over the injuries for each game. Have a little bit of a chat of how we think each one will play out. And then finally, we'll do our picks and our weekly parlay. As you guys know, during the regular season, we normally do a milli bet. But with the playoffs, only 4 games, it can be a bit tough to build up $1 million bet when odds get reduced when you're doing same game parlays. For some reason, if I have 2 games, if I'm betting on, say, 2 games, and I'm betting, Lamar Jackson throw 5 touchdowns and Jalen Hurts throw 3 touchdowns. Let's say those odds are 13 and 5. It will straight up multiply that and give you 13 times 5. But if I was to go Lamar Jackson throws 5 touchdowns and Buffalo Bills Josh Allen throws 3 touchdowns, same bet, let's say they're the same odds, it wouldn't be a straight 13 times 5. It would be something more along the lines of like 9 times 4 or something. I don't know how it works out, but it is generally lower within the same game because, I don't know, the likelihood of things happening are more likely, so the multi gets a bit shit on by the bookmaker. So $1 million bet is a bit rough when there's only 4 games to go off. Anyway, let's get into it. Divisional round information. Let's start it up. Just want to quickly look, everything is set, and boom, here we go. There we go. What a beautiful graphic. So NFL Divisional Round Playoffs, we have the Texans at the Chiefs. We have the Washington Commanders at the Lions. That is today, tomorrow. I'm not sure what time it is in the US right now. And then for the Sunday football game, we have the LA Rams versus the Eagles in Philadelphia. And then we have Baltimore going into Buffalo for that game. So let's have a quick chat about these things. So Texans, Chiefs, that's the first game. We have, if I get this up really quickly, it's going to be a 23-degree Fahrenheit day. Kind of a bit cold. I think that's a bit cold. I work in Celsius, so I'm feeling that's pretty cold. It's going to be a clear day, though. Also, 13-mile-an-hour winds. That can affect the kicking game. That can affect the throwing game if you throw in a deep ball. Either way, just keep an eye out on this game. Kansas City is favored by 8.5 points. That is a lot. A lot of these handicaps are pretty big. 8.5, 9.5, 6.5, and then obviously we have the pick'em with Baltimore and the Bills. But yeah, 8.5 is quite a bit. It's quite a bit. I don't think Kansas City has won a game by 8 points this season at all. Don't take my word for it, but they have been close. They have been finding ways to win, and that is not dominating. I've been talking about it all season. These guys have been playing to their competition. They have not been straight up crushing people. The over for this game is 41.5 points, or 41, 42. I don't know how I feel about that in particular. I think it's a good chance of it going over, but, playoff games generally do have a trend of going under. Very defensive heavy games right here. This game kicks off on the Saturday at 4:30 p.m. and if you're in Australia, it is 7:30 in the morning tomorrow morning. GMT plus 10, that is where I am at. So I'll be trying to get an early bed so I can watch this game, and then obviously I'll be watching Washington versus Detroit as well. Hopefully that game doesn't go over 3 hours because I do need to work. I do need to go to work. So, let's talk about this. Texans and Kansas City. First thing I want to have a look at is injuries. The injury report. I have this injury report, and I also do have the full Texans and Chiefs injury report up, so we'll switch over to that in a moment. So first of all, for this Saturday game, out, we have Titans. We have tight end. I said tight end. We have tight end Quintariano. For the Texans, he will be out. Questionable is Joe Mixon, Robert Woods, and Aziz Al-Shair. And for Kansas City, we have McCall Hardman is out. And Jay Watson is also questionable on the cornerback side right there. 8.5 points. So we'll go over to our little screen over here with all of our matchups. As you can see, Houston to win is about $4.50. Right there, if you can see my mouse. I'm not sure if you can see my mouse. There it is. So yeah, $4.50 if you want to bet on the Texans to win. Not a bad bet. Not a bad bet. It's worth throwing a little something on there, honestly. Could happen. I know the Kansas City roster is absolutely stacked, but you just gotta hope. Just gotta hope. Let's move over to the injuries for this game. We can go and quickly have a look at the quick notables here. Obviously, this is what's going on. We don't have a lot of the players on our list that are in IR, so we're going to go over that. We are going over that. So first up, Houston Texans. Look at this massive list. Players on injured reserve is absolutely insane. Let's go through it. So, Tegan Quintariano, I haven't had to say that name all season. On an injured reserve, he will not be playing, like I stated. He is out. Joe Mixon, running back, is questionable with an ankle. Very likely that he will play. There's a very, very real chance that he will play, as they say here by Ian Rappaport. It could be the last game of the season. You're going to play the game. That's all it is. There's no saving players. If you can play, you're going to play. Joe Mixon should be in. Aziz Al-Shair also questionable with a knee. Good chance that he will get in the game. I think he will play a pivotal role in this game. If things go absolutely wrong, if things go incredibly wrong, Aziz Al-Shair could somewhat be a bit of a hero, bit of a villain in this game. We'll talk about that in a second. Robert Woods with a hip, listed as questionable. I'm assuming he also will try to get out there on the field, since Nico Collins is their only real healthy target at the moment, I believe. And on the injured reserve list and all the outs, we've got Cade Stover, tight end, out. Tank Dell, out. Jamal Hill, out. Zach Thomas, out. Jimmy Ward, injured reserve. Jalen Pitre, injured reserve. Look at all of these. Stephon Diggs, Holman, British Brooks, safeties. Case Keenum, he wouldn't have done much if he got in the game anyway. Dalton Keene, another injured reserve. Jalen Thomas, offensive tackle, injured reserve. Look at all of this absolute mess. Absolutely messy shit. If these guys make it, if Texans win, then Tegan Quintariano can come back for the AFC Championship game. But everything else here, this looks like Super Bowl time. If these guys can make it to the Super Bowl, their roster will be full. Give me just 1 second. NFL, when is this Super Bowl? Super Bowl date. I should know this off the top of my head. Should be 3 weeks from now. 4 weeks, sorry. Oh, what did I just type in? Super Bowl date. Cripes. Oof, the 9th of Feb. That's the 9th of Feb, so these guys will not be back. Exclude exactly what I said. Jamal Hill will be back, but honestly, the majority of the team from here down is no good. Now let's go over to Kansas City side. Let's see how they are going. If I bring up my graphic again, as you can see, I did only have McCall Hardman as listed as out, and Jalen Watson listed as questionable. That's all I got when I looked it up on the NFL website and the matchups. So those are the most important ones. As you know, everybody else is on injured reserve. So let's go through that list. So Jalen Watson, questionable. Activation, lower leg. He's been activated off the injured reserve. Remains questionable to play against Houston, but it's a good chance that he'll play if they need him. McCall Hardman is now on the injured reserve. Could come back next week. And then everybody, we got defensive tackle, not going to make the rest of the season. Sky Moore, not making the rest of the season. Jack Cochrane, he can come back if they win this game. Spencer Schrader, the punt kicker, he can come back if they win this game. Tight end Jared Wiley. Jody Forston. Rasheed Rice is also not going to play again this season. BJ Thompson, he could be back for next week. And McCade Matura is also done for the season. And that's how it looks. Now let's have a little chat about the game. How do I feel about this game? Like I said, Kansas City they haven't played a playoff game this year, so we can't really tell what's going to happen. But throughout this season, they were not crushing teams. I've said this a million times on the channel. They have not been destroying teams. They've been playing to their level. They've been keeping it close, right? This gives the Texans an amazing chance. I know the Kansas City roster is absolutely loaded, and I know that the Texans only do really have Nico Collins right now in the receiver role. Let's have a quick look at their depth chart. Very quickly. Who do they have in the receiving side? They got Nico Collins. Oh, they got John Mechie the third. My bad. He could, I think they're going to have to rely on John Mechie the third quite a bit in this game. Dalton Schultz is healthy, so he'll get some game time. He'll get some ball. Laramie Tunsil, big man up front. They don't look too beat up, honestly, on the offensive side with contributors, like I said, Nico Collins, John Mechie III, and Dalton Schultz, with the questionable Robert Woods. They're not too bad. They're not too beat up. I mean, Joe Mixon is questionable, and they can always rely on Dameon Pierce. He is a great running back as well. Azeez Al-Shaair is my big question. I think if everything were to go wrong / go right, Azeez Al-Shaair might be putting a big lick on Mahomes, just like we saw him do in Jacksonville. Obviously, he'll be taking a huge fine, but if he can get Mahomes out of the game with concussion protocol, Texans' chance of winning this game are skyrocketing. Now, this is why I said that the Houston at 4.5 points might not be so bad. It might not be as terrible as we're thinking, right? Now, I don't know the stats for Houston. Actually, no, if I go right up the top here, back to this game. Kansas City are 8-0 at home. Could this be their first loss? Like I said, a big lick from Al-Shaair on a running Mahomes. You know, Mahomes likes to keep the ball alive. Could put him out of the game, and then guess what? You got Carson Wentz, and then guess what? The Texans are winning. Simple as that. So we go over to the injury report for Kansas City. As we stated just earlier, McCall Hardman is out and Jalen Watson is questionable. So let's have a full look at this again. We did already look at this. Let's not look at this again. Let's simply go to their depth chart. I'm sorry, this is the first game of the week, and this is my first stream of the week, so I'm trying to get myself all together. As you can see here, they are a little beat up on the receiver side of the ball, but DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith, Justin Watson, Kareem Hunt, Isaiah Pacheco, Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, get the fuck out of here. Star-studded lineup with a star-studded set of coaches. And then you look at this, they look pretty good over here. Just from what I'm seeing, it looks pretty good. How am I feeling about this game? I've already told you. It could be a very close one. Just going to whip this back up real quick. Could be a bit of a close one. Will the over hit over 41.5? It is likely. If the Texans can get some completions, if they can get to, let's say, 10 points by halftime, and then they keep it up through the third quarter and possibly the fourth. Let's say they score 30 points. Let's say they score 24. This game will definitely go to the over if the Texans can make it to at least 20 points. Simple as that. Kansas City is going to hold in there. It's going to probably go down to the last play of the game if the Texans are still keeping it competitive. And hey, it might even not go to the fourth, the final play of the game if Aziz Al-Sha'ir does the dirty and concusses Patrick Mahomes. Now, I am speaking pretty openly about this. I'm just saying, if that happens, Texans win, right? Very low chance that will happen. Don't bet your money on it. But either way, this should be a very, very good game. We'll go to the picks a bit later on. I think Kansas City probably wins this game. Again, if Aziz Al-Sha'ir is in the game, I will put a little bit of money on the Texans and also Washington. They're both like $4 each. But yeah, that's how I see this game being played out. Honestly, that's how I see it being played out. Kansas City to win a close one. 8.5 points is too big for a close one. Texans defense showed up big last week. They played the whole game. It was not a comeback affair. They stayed solid the whole game. So yeah, I'm thinking Kansas City wins this one, but they don't cover. We'll go to the bets a bit later on. Next up, I want to talk about Washington versus Detroit, the other game that's on a bit later on today / tomorrow. So, it's in a dome, 21 degrees Fahrenheit. It is in a dome, so wind doesn't matter. There's no wind inside the dome. The over for the game is 55.5 points. Lions are favored by 9.5. Playing at Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 11 a.m. GMT plus 10 where I live, so I will get to watch this game as well. Let us flip over to the injuries. So we've got linebacker Jordan McGee. He's out with a hamstring. Could come back next week. And on the questionable, we have Colston Yankov, the tight end. He's actually been put on the injured reserve today. Full practice on Tuesday. Oh, no. His estimated return date is the 18th. So I'm assuming he's back. I don't know why this is telling me this, and that's telling me that. Linebacker Michael Walker. He's questionable. There's no information listed on why he's questionable. I'm not going to do a deep dive and find out why. And then let me just switch over here and we'll go over the rest of the people who are out. So as we've stated, Jordan McGee is out of this game, hamstring. Michael Walker questionable. Colston Yankov, he's questionable, but this says injured reserve, says he can go back on the 18th, which is today, and it was a hamstring. Participated in full practice. Who else do we have out? We have Haggai Undebuisi. I'm not even going to pronounce the N. Defensive tackle is out, undisclosed. He was placed on the practice squad. Tyler Owens, safety, injured reserve. He will not. Wow, that's the Super Bowl date. Am I right? That is the Super Bowl date. So he could come back to play in the Super Bowl. I've got too many tabs. I'm just going to close them up so I don't get lost. So he could be back for the Super Bowl if they make it through. Somewhat unlikely though. When you do, you will need to go through either the Rams or the Eagles, and I don't see Washington They could probably beat the Rams. Eagles, not so much. Like I've stated all season, I do envision a Bills-Eagles Super Bowl, so this is going to be tough. The 9th of January or not, I don't think it matters. Then we have Kazmir Allen, the running back. He is also out. Looks like his season... Oh no, he'll be back next week. With an ankle, Noah Brown, wide receivers on injured reserve, could come back next week. Austin Seibert, the punt kicker, is also on injured reserve, could come back next week if they make it through. And the defensive tackle, Noel Pollard, is also on injured reserve. His season is absolutely done. Undisclosed was placed on the injured reserve. Let us go back to this, and we'll talk about the Lions injuries. So this list is kind of big for the Lions. They've had players just dropping out all season, but we'll go through it for this game. So we have guard Kevin Zeitler. He is out with a hamstring, could come back next week if they win the game. Defensive line, Pat O'Connor, he's a defensive end, could come back next week. He's out with a calf. And on the questionable side, we have Ennis Rakestraw Jr., cornerback, injured reserve. It says estimated return the 18th. So again, he is questionable. He could come back. It was a hamstring and illness that he was dealing with. And then as we go through the rest of the list, I'll bring that up right now. You've got cornerback Carlton Davis III on injured reserve. Season's finished. Derek Barnes, linebacker, season finished. Emmanuel Mosley, cornerback, could come back for the Super Bowl. Aiden Hutchinson, defensive end, could come back for the Super Bowl. Khalil Dorsey, cornerback, he is out. Alim McKeel, defensive tackle, he is out for the rest of the season. Mekhi Wingo, defensive tackle, out for the season. And this list goes down. The only person who has a chance to come back this season is John Kaminsky, defensive end with a knee. Like I said, he could come back next week. If he was placed on injured reserve, I'm not sure if there's a 3-week situation there. I don't know why this is telling me he can return on the 26th. I'll have to look more into it with injured reserve and the playoffs. But let's quickly go through this list of the injured reserves players. They've got cornerback, DT, linebacker, DT, defensive end, Antoine Green, wide receiver, offensive tackle, Connor Galvin, defensive end, Nate Lynn, guard, Natane Moody, and punt kicker, Michael Badgley. They've been beat up this season. They have been absolutely beat up. Let me bring up their depth chart for you to see in person. This is what we're looking like on the defensive end. It is absolutely rough. This is rough. Having said this, they have been absolutely crushing their defensive coordinator. I don't know his name. He sends those dogs. Jaden Daniels is going to be under fire in this match. They're going to be rushing the shit out of him. I was complaining last week on the defensive moves that they do, where they do the little shoopty whoop, push the center into the guard, center in the tackle, whatever it is, and then they swish around in the middle. That's fine and all, but Jaden Daniels is a mobile quarterback. I believe the Lions have had a little bit of trouble with mobile quarterbacks this season. So this could fare well for the Washington Commanders. I did hear that it might be smart to take the under on punts in this game, as both teams really do like to go for it on fourth down, so there might not be too many punts. This could be a defensive heavy game. This could be an absolute barn burner where they just score so many points. Again, let's bring this up. Lions are favored by 9.5. It is in the dome and it is a 55-point total. This could hit. Last week, we bet on Vikings and Lions to hit the over. That's all I needed to win my multi/parlay, and it didn't come out. I think that probably screwed a lot of people as well. It turned out to be a bit of a very, very dog shit game. Last game of the season, I mean. I'm not talking about last week. I'm talking about week 18. Really fucked everybody. But Lions still won that game. How do I feel about this game? Me and a Packers fan, do not want to see the Detroit or anybody from the NFC North besides the Packers move any further in the playoffs or even make the playoffs. So I'm hoping Washington wins. Like I stated before, this is also a $4 bet. It's almost $5 for Washington to win this game. They could surprise. 9.5 points is a lot, but this Lions team has been known to beat the shit out of teams and embarrass them points-wise. Washington has been known for being absolutely clutch, hanging in the games, and then stealing it on the very last play. Jaden Daniels, he is a clutch machine. Most likely thing to happen is Lions win, and also Lions cover. But for me, I do believe I'm going to take the plus points on Washington. We'll go over those bets later. This could be a very good game. I'm excited to watch this one, actually. This will be a great game to watch. Next up, let us get back over to the rest of this stuff. And we are going to talk about LA Rams versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Just getting all my stuff all set up. One thing I did want to go over about Washington and Detroit really quickly. So Washington is 5-3 away and Detroit are 7-2 at home. They have not swept home. So like I said, Washington Commanders have a good chance to win. They are above 500 away. Let's go Commanders. Alright, so moving on to the next game. As I stated we would, we have Los Angeles Rams going into Philadelphia. Philadelphia is favored by 6.5 points, 33 degrees Fahrenheit. It is definitely going to snow in this game, and there are 9-mile-an-hour winds. 9-mile-an-hour winds are not too crazy, but the snow is a massive factor in this. Both teams have a good running game. Eagles obviously have a much better offensive line and a great running game, but you can never discount Matthew Stafford. They do have a sneakily strong roster. They have an extremely smart coach. So we'll see what happens here. The over for this game is 43.5. In a snow game, chances it will go under. It's going to be snowing a lot. They're going to be hitting the ground game quite a bit. But I do believe Matthew Stafford will still be ripping some shit through the air too. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and possibly Tyler Higbee as well. So this game is played on the Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think that's what ET is. But for us in Australia, it is a 6 a.m. game in my time zone, at least on the Monday. Not sure if I'm going to be able to get up to watch that. I'm going to try my best. There's only what, by this point, there's going to be 5 more games left in the season, so I better fucking watch this game. Yeah, let's go over to the injuries. Let's go over to the injuries for this one. Beautiful graphics. We have out for LA. We have Laurel Murchison, defensive tackle. He has been put on the injured reserve with a foot. He's been ruled out. He could come back next week, though. This is what ESPN is telling me, estimated return date. And then we have Troy Reader, linebacker, put on the injured reserve. He's been ruled out for the divisional game. There is no information on his injury, but he did practice in full on Friday. Could come back next week. Those are the 2 players who are out. And then questionables, we have Alaric Jackson, offensive tackle. He's questionable with a chest injury. We have Justin Dedick, guard, questionable. I've got no information on why he is questionable. We've got Bobby Brown III, defensive tackle, questionable with a shoulder. Good chance that he will be thrown into the game. Need everybody you can get. And then we do have cornerback, how would I say this one? Akello Witherspoon, questionable with a thigh. Could return for this game. Depends how much they need him. And then if we go to the Philadelphia side of things, we only have Bryce Young, defensive tackle, who has been marked out. They don't have any questionables. They have a bunch of people on the injured reserve, so let us switch over to that very, very quickly. Going back to the LA Rams here. So we've spoken about these 4 boys and Troy Reader, so we'll go down the list past Justin Dedich. We have these players are all out for the rest of the season, even if they do make it to the Super Bowl. We have Blake Corum, running back, Nick Hampton, linebacker, KT Leviston, guard. We've got Connor McDermott, offensive tackle. We've got Trey Tomlinson, cornerback, and also Darion Kendrick, cornerback. They're all out for the rest of the season. We will not see them in this matchup or for the rest of the postseason. And then we'll go over to the Eagles side of the ball. Like I said, Byron Young is the newest player to be put on the injured reserve for the Philadelphia Eagles with a hamstring, defensive tackle. He will be out, possible to return next week. In terms of players who can come back before the Super Bowl, we've got CJ Uzomah, tight end, back for the Super Bowl. We've got Britton Covey, wide receiver, could be back next week with a neck. We've got Ben Van Sumeren, linebacker, 26, could come back with a knee next week. And then the last player who could come back for these playoffs is James Bradbury, the fourth cornerback, with a lower leg injury. Other players who will be out for the remainder of the season, we've got Nakobe Dean, linebacker, Jack Driscoll, offensive tackle. We've got Brandon Graham, defensive end. This is massive, but they just shit all over the Packers. So while they will miss him, they can operate without him. And then we have LaRaven Clark, offensive tackle. He is also not going to be there for the rest of the season. If we go over here, Philadelphia is 8-1 at home. Very strong performance. Rams are 5-3 away, just like the Washington Commanders. Bets on this game. Philadelphia is favored $1.36. LA Rams is at $3.20 to win. If we go back to our main graphic over here, we can see 6.5 point favorites by Philadelphia, and there is the over of 43.5 points. How do we see this game playing out? This is going to be, this is a tough one. 43.5 points is not a whole lot. If both teams hit, 21 points and then it's won by a field goal, it's like 24-21. This covers. It's just very tough. I'd probably take the under here. Don't take me on that. I think I probably do have the LA Rams to cover the 6.5 points as well. I don't know. I think either team could really win this game. Both teams could really win this game. In terms of the way the weather looks, home field advantage, you'd probably take Philadelphia Eagles because their run game is strong and their offensive line is boost. I do believe that there was some crazy stat where the amount of yardage that Saquon had got before contact was absolutely fucking insane. This offensive line is strong as shit. You add the tush push in there, they're picking up all the 4th and 1s that they're given. It's insane. It is absolutely insane. Again, like I said, this game could become a pick'em. I do have Los Angeles Rams to cover. Look for a ground heavy game with the snow. Obviously, I do believe it's probably going to be snowing for the majority of the match. Rams have Kyren Williams as their main running back. He's not a shitty puppy. This dude is strong. He pushes through. He pushes through heavy tackles. He pushes through contact. He pushes through people trying to hold him up. They might need to rely on him. They will be also being trying to rely on Puka Nacua with all of the stuff that they do with him. They generally try to get him wide open, and they do. You got Tutu Atwell in the back as well. Cooper Kupp, Demarcus Robinson, Tyler Higbee. Like, it's a great offense. It is a great offense. We won't even talk about the defense because they can hold their own as well. I'd like to see the Rams win, but like I said, I've envisioned an Eagles-Bills Super Bowl this whole time. Eagles will probably win this one. Wouldn't be surprised if they take it. Let's move on to the next game. So, the last game for the divisional round is Ravens versus Bills. This game has been touted as game of the year. No matter what happens in the Super Bowl, this is probably going to be the best fucking game of the year. Watch this game. Baltimore is only favored by half a point, so it's essentially a pick them. Over and under is 51.5 points. This could go very well over. This could go very well under. It is 13 degrees Fahrenheit in prime time, 2-mile-an-hour winds, and there's going to be some snow showers. Probably not for the whole game, but there will be some snow. Both of these teams can play in the snow. Buffalo is a very cold place. Baltimore is also a very cold place. But let's say it is cold and it snows for the majority of the game. It will become a ground game affair in which things very strongly move into Baltimore's favor. Baltimore is 6-3 away. The Bills, they're 8-0 at home. They have not faltered yet at home. This one is completely up in the air to me. Let us go over to the injuries very quickly. So, doubtful for the Baltimore Ravens, we have Zay Flowers. He is doubtful. Expected to return the 19th, which is the day after tomorrow. He's got a knee. Did not practice. Doubtful. That's why it's orange. And then on the questionable side, we have Deontay Harty. I completely spelled his name wrong. I do apologize, Deontay. His name is Harty. It is not Harley. It's not Harley Davidson. He's on injured reserve with a knee. Possible to come back after this game. He had a full practice on Friday, but he's got him questionable. Shouldn't have said anything about injured reserve. He's questionable for the game, like it is on the graphic right there. Let's go over the rest of their injuries if I just switch this off. So, players that have their season completely finished from here and down. We have Christian Matthew, cornerback. We have Trayvon Mullen, cornerback. We have Owen Wright, running back, and Malik Ham, linebacker. These guys are all out for the rest of the season, even if the Baltimore Ravens do make it to the playoffs. The people who could come back, Jalen Amore-Davis, cornerback, could come back for the Super Bowl. He's got a hamstring right now. Arthur Mollett, I'm assuming it's Mollett, cornerback, 26th of Jan, which means he should be back for next week's game if Baltimore wins. And he has a calf and a knee injury. Now moving on to the Buffalo Bills side of the ball. Questionable, we only have one person, and that is Ray Davis, running back. He's still in the concussion protocol, so it's questionable. I would say doubtful because it says it's made a return of the 19th, but they've got him listed as questionable. I'll just pull this graphic off so that you can see what I see. There are 3 players that are not coming back this season. Let's go over them quickly. We'll Trez Clayton, offensive tackle. We've got Shane Buccelli, quarterback, and we have Tommy Doyle, offensive tackle. These guys are not coming back this season. Super Bowl is on the 9th of February, so these guys will likely not play. Linebacker Balen Spector with a calf injury. He could come back on the 26th, which is next week. Like I said, I thought there was some sort of protocol for injured reserve, meaning you had to be on there for 3 weeks, and yeah, I don't understand, but December 25, that means he could come back. It has been easily 3 weeks from that point. How do I see this game going? I don't know. Snow showers, very low wind, 51 point over. I'd like to see the Bills win. If the game is snowing for the majority of the game, Josh Allen will be right in his element, but like I said with the ground game, Baltimore will be favored. One thing about Baltimore we've seen this season, when you think it's a good idea to put a 2-touchdown bet on their running back, fucking, why don't I know his name right now? He's like the best run, Derrick Henry. Oh my god, how Freudian! I don't know how I forgot that name. Jesus Christ. Just when you think it's a smart idea to put 2-touchdown bet on Derrick Henry, he grabs 0. He gets 0 touchdowns, and Lamar somehow throws for 5 touchdowns. This could very much be one of those games where Lamar throws for at least 4 touchdowns, and Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen will have to do everything that he absolutely can to make this team win. That would mean running and picking up touchdowns. I wouldn't be surprised if he runs in 2 touchdowns for himself. I wouldn't be surprised if he throws 3 touchdowns as well. This game is going to be insane. Don't take me on that because they do have a running back who can get his own touchdowns. But yeah, this game could go very much the way of everybody expecting Derrick Henry and Josh Allen to be rushing the ball like absolute shit. Also with, I do believe it's James Cook. 1,000-yard rushing this season with James Cook for Buffalo. Just when you thought it could be one of those games, it's probably going to be a very passing touchdown style game in which, rushing gets them to the 3-yard line. They can't punch it in. They got to throw it in. That's simply how it could go. Or else it could be a break in the weather, some nice deep balls on some busted coverages. This one is a pick'em. Like I said, probably take the Bills. I think the Ravens likely take this one. It's a tough one to say. Neither of these teams really won or had turnovers last week. I think the only team that had any real amount of turnovers was the Philadelphia Eagles and the Houston Texans. The Washington Commanders, the LA Rams, Buffalo Bills, and the Ravens. They didn't really have that many takeaways last week, if I remember correctly. So look for takeaways in this game, look for takeaways in this game, look for takeaways in all of these games, actually. But there's probably going to be the least amount of takeaways in this particular game. Having said that, forced fumbles are a thing in the snow when the hands are wet and the ball is slick. Keep an eye out for that. Again, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is prime time. And then for us in Australia, it is a 9:30 a.m. game. And that's all we've got to say about that, really. Those are the matchups. Those are the matchups for the divisional round. That's what's happening right there. I'm going to rip this off right now. I'm going to bring the TSS logo back, and then we're going to the agenda. Divisional round is done. We've gone to the divisional round injuries. Now let's go to the picks and the parlay for this week. First, I want to bring this back up. At a glance, I would say Kansas, Eagles, Lions, Ravens. Didn't want to say that. Didn't want to say Ravens right there. Did not want to say Ravens right there. But anyway, this could go either way. This could definitely go either way. A two-headed beast right here in the running game. A two-headed beast right here in the running game. Who does more to win? Is it Lamar? Is it Josh Allen? Is it Derrick Henry? Is it someone completely different? Does the defense show up? Let's go over these picks again. I've changed my mind. We're going Kansas City. We're going Eagles. We're going Lions. We're going Bills. Right? Let's bring up the parlay that I've made. It is just a 4-leg parlay. Like I said, I am taking the plus on the majority of these games. These are large spreads. This one in particular is a huge spread. This one is a fair spread, but Washington is clutch. And then again, this one is a fair spread with the Eagles because they do have a habit of just being persistent and then busting you open towards the end of the game and pulling ahead that lead. So for this week's parlay, we do have Houston covering the 8.5 points. We have Washington covering the 8.5 points. I think that's supposed to be 9.5. It is supposed to be 9.5. That is my bad. And then we've got LA covering the 6.5 points, and then we have Baltimore winning the game. Essentially, that's basically a pick'em. I think the odds right now on this game, 185 and 195. Nothing real special. LA, if you were to pick them to straight up win the game, you'd be going at $3.20. If you're going for Philadelphia, it would be $1.36 straight up. So, interesting parlay. You could throw Houston, Washington, and LA all money line. You could do that and get a pretty tasty little bet. That would be 4.5 times 4.8 times 3.2. Could come out. But yeah, that's how I'm feeling. Kansas City, Eagles, Lions, and I want to say the Bills here. But in terms of parlay, we have Houston Texans covering, we have Washington covering, we have LA covering, and then we have Baltimore just winning. Again, I am just mixed. I'm just on the fence about this Baltimore Bills game. This is going to be an absolute amazing game to watch. Pretty much all of these games are going to be good to watch. Check it out. Divisional round this week is going to be fucking insane. And then we'll see what happens. We'll see what the matchups are like for the championships, the AFC and the NFC championship. Only 7 games left in the season. It's come to this. It has come to this. These are the big boys at play. These are the big boys at play. Can the 7 seed Washington Commanders make a massive upset? I think they can. I think they can. Other interesting bets? If you were to take some player props or something, I wouldn't be surprised if Matthew Stafford may be running for a touchdown, and that could be one. He's not a running quarterback, so there's probably quite a big bet on big odds on that one. The under on the punts here is probably somewhat very likely on the Washington versus Lions game. Could take a 3 passing touchdown game. Oh no, wait, it's a sunny day. It's a sunny day. You could go two Stroud touchdowns and also 2 Joe Mixon touchdowns. Kansas City, it is the playoffs. You could very much take Travis Kelce for 2 touchdowns. Maybe 100 yards. For this next game, like I said, Washington versus Lions, you take the under on punts. It's very likely to happen if it is around 6.5. Jaden Daniels throwing touchdown. Jaden Daniels rushing a touchdown. Possibly rushing 2 if he has to. Terry McLaurin picking up a touchdown. Jared Goff throwing 3 tutties. I know last week, on the last week of the season, it was all about their running back. He did absolutely everything in this game, but he didn't rush them all in. So maybe this could be one of those games where we see a 300-yard, a 4-touchdown game from Jared Goff, and everybody is like, "This guy's fucking goated. This guy's fucking goated." Just something to think about there. And then we go down to the LA Rams versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Puka Nacua touchdown, Tyler Higbee touchdown. Would not be surprised. Also wouldn't be surprised if maybe Cooper Kupp grabbed one as well. Kyren Williams for a touchdown as well. I'm not going to say that they're going to pick up 4 touchdowns. Those are just the most likely targets for it. Saquon Barkley, possibly 2 touchdowns. 150-ish yards, I'd say, in the snow. Maybe push it up to 200 if it becomes a blowout. Jalen Hurts, I don't see him throwing too many touchdowns in this game. I see him more relying on the run game and the short passes, especially in the snow. I'd probably put him down for like 1 touchdown, 2 at max. I don't see him like absolutely going off this game. And then for the final game, Baltimore versus the Bills, we have like I said, this is one of those tough ones where you expect it to be all Derrick Henry, but then they could just turn it around and Lamar picks up. He just throws 4 touchdowns. Doesn't rush any in. Derrick doesn't rush any in. Could be one of those games. Either way, Buffalo, Josh Allen is going to put the team on his back. I would not be surprised if he rushes for 2 touchdowns. Maybe Dawson Knox picks up a touchdown. I can't think of much else. To say. I'd probably take the over on the definitely take the over on Josh Allen rushing. I don't know what that's at, but I'm just throwing things out there. Either way, guys, that was episode 40 of the Sean Show. I'm glad you tuned in and watched. I'm glad you're watching the VOD, whatever. Who gives a shit? Made a little more progress with my other content that I'm working on, so I've started scripting out my actual next video, which should be a longer bit of a piece and should bring you a bit more information and some nice graphics. I'm enjoying making these graphics. Soon next season we're gonna have to change this place card for the Sean Show. As much as I've enjoyed having a very clean slate and then over time it getting more messy, I hope you guys have seen that and appreciate it. I think we need to update the thumbnail to make it more attractive to new viewers. So that was the Sean Show, episode 40. Again, I've said it again. Please enjoy the divisional round. Like I said, there's only 7 games left in the season. Enjoy these last 4. Do it. Watch the games. Watch every snap. So you know what's going to happen after these 7 games? There's going to be no football for 7 months. That makes me real sad. That makes me real sad. The show's going to have to talk about something else other than NFL. And we'll figure that out. We'll figure that out when the time comes. But for now, everybody, appreciate yourselves. Appreciate others. Be a great human and have an even greater time. Watch the football. Peace out. That was the Sean Show.